I'm designated.
Thank you very much for attending the board workshop for June. We look forward to hearing from either committee chairman or their designate this morning for each of the committees that we have. Robert Kamen is out of the state and is not in today, but I believe we've got all of our other board members here today, so we'll just get right into our reports. We have one other board member that's not here today, Doug Green, but he'll probably be coming in later. So we'll start with our committee reports this morning. Bob, we'll start with ACC. No, finance, okay.
You want that Bob or this Bob?
Yeah, I want this Bob after all. Bob Maurer.
I'm not ACC.
Okay. How about reporting on bylaws?
I will report on bylaws.
Thank you.
The regular June meeting of the Bylaws Committee was scheduled for June the 14th. We did not have a quorum present. Let me jump on to something else before that. We received notice from Tom Bazone that they're going to be moving to Florida in the spring sometime, which is a great loss for the Bylaws Committee and probably several other committees out here. Tom has been a very valuable asset. But we're glad we've had him for a while. We've had him. Back to the meeting. We did not have enough members show up, but we did have a DCR originated in the Golfing Committee. The DCR number is RR, which is Rules and Regulations, -16-04-001. And the purpose was to change the amount of time to cancel the tea time from 2 hours to 1 hour. And no, I'm sorry, increase. Wait a minute, let me get it right. They wanted to change it from 2 hours to 1 hour in the rules and regulations to provide members who wish to utilize canceled tea times a larger window to do so. That was the reason for changing it. Bylaws Committee have 3 members who have said that they're in favor of this. So we'll be signing off on it today with only one change in the recommended wording, and I've discussed this with the Golf Committee. The term "within the point value system," which calculates player tee time assignment priorities. The term point value is something that a lot of people are familiar with, but I had no idea what it was about, neither did Tom. However, in the rules, the term online tee time system is used in the rules already. So we're going to change point value to online tee time system. Now you can say what you want to say, but we feel pretty strongly that if you're going to use a term that is not defined anywhere, you probably ought not to use it. You probably ought to use terms that are defined. An online tee time system is defined. Point value is not defined, but they're both the same system. They're the package that comes with the 4Ts program for assigning tee time. That will be the change, the only change we've made. We've checked that with the Golf Committee chair, and he has no problem with it. So we'll be doing that.
Bob, may I ask a question? Could we clarify The change again, it's currently...
Okay, the current wording, if a player or players have to cancel an assigned tee time, they must do so no later than 1 hour prior to their assigned time.
That's the existing rule?
That's what it says, the current wording.
Okay.
I'm just reading from the DCR.
I understand.
The recommended wording, if a player or players have to cancel an assigned tee time, they must do so no later than 2 hours prior to their assigned time.
Okay.
So we're going from a 1 hour notice to a 2 hour notice.
Okay.
That's what the DCR says.
The other comment you have there, Mike, would you comment on the word change again? What was the word you took issue with?
Point value.
The current rule specifically states within the 4T system, actually within the system, there is a point value system that's used to determine who gets priority tee times based on lower numbers go to the back of the line, higher numbers go to the front of the line. And originally we put that in there, and I understand Bob's comment that the rules never specifically address the point value system. It only talks about within the 4T system, and I'm okay if that's what they wanted to say.
Are you changing it to 4Ts or online registration system?
I'm changing it to what's in the existing rules, Section 7, paragraph 7.2.2. Tee times are scheduled through a lottery-based online tee time system. I'm changing it to that.
That work?
Yeah, it works fine for me.
Okay.
That's what's defined in here. And I just felt like let's don't create a new term for the same animal.
Sounds good. Okay.
Let's use the same name we've always had that's already here. Unless there's a reason to change it, and I've got no problem if there's a valid reason to change it.
That works for me. Thanks.
I have a comment to make, Mr. Maurer. You had indicated that the excuse me, the bylaws committee will be missing Tom Bozzone. I like to amplify that somewhat to indicate the long-range planning, finance, Lenmo, and the community at large will miss Tom Bozzone.
I second that.
Yeah.
And so that DCR is ready for board action?
I'll sign it after the meeting. One more point. We did have a discussion concerning only one person being involved in the processing of a DCR. And I've talked with several other past bylaws persons about that, and everybody's pretty well agreed that there ought to be more than one person holding the veto power or approval power on a DCR. Still trying to determine who that might be. It needs to be somebody that we don't have to change every year or every 3 years or every 5 years, really. In my opinion, whoever, maybe it's not an individual by name, maybe it's a position, or maybe it's a committee. Not sure what it's going to be. It's just somebody other than the board secretary. I've had several suggestions. I'm just not ready to process that yet. We'll run it by the board before we actually initiate a DCR making that change to our policy. But that is an ongoing project. I guess that's all for the bylaws.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Maurer? All right, thank you, Bob. Would be ACC. I see that we don't have a representative from that committee this morning, and I'll go on to Finance, and the other Bob now can address the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance Committee met yesterday morning. We're presenting one AFE, which is 160205. It's for the Westover diversion design. This AFE is for design services from HOF Association that will allow us to look at the possibility of diverting water from Zone 1 directly to the river, which would give relief to our road and drainage in both Zone 1 and 2. And if you want more detail on this, this is the man to talk to, or that man back there, one of the two, but not me. Anyway, the Finance Committee is recommending to the board to consider approving this AFE for an estimated amount of $15,800. Any questions on this AFE?
Let's get comments from Daniel this morning to talk a little bit further about what's behind this AFE.
Basically, he said it all in a nutshell. We're looking at installing a drainage relief system for Zone 1, which is would be the west end of Westover and the northern end, northwestern parts of Prospect Hill, and taking that water and diverting it directly to the river rather than it running through the entire neighborhood there to get basically down to number 17 pond is where it goes and filters on down to the river through that direction. It's a key point, and it will give us a lot of relief on our drainage system and prevent future overtopping of the road.
Any other questions? Thank you, Daniel.
With respect to our financials, our operating revenues and expenses for the month of May, our revenues exceeded the budget by $1,300. Our cost of goods was short by $7,400. Expenses were over budget by $4,500, leaving us at the end of the month, May. For the month of May, we were over budget by $10,600. However, good news is for the year-to-date, actual to budget, we are showing a positive variance of $133,800. So, got a good cash. Our capital expenditures, our road and drainage fund, this is all for the month of May. Our revenues were $56,800 with expenditures of $53,600, leaving a fund balance of $701,000. So we're still in pretty good shape, but we got a long way to go for the year. Capital Reserve Fund, we received $59,600 in revenue, and we had only $9,000 expenditures, but there's more that's in process and we get catching up. So we have a balance in our Capital Reserve Fund of $1,437,000. So all in all, we have over $2,600,000 sitting in the bank. Any questions on those? That's it for me.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. There's a couple other committees that report to the board. Linmo.
Lenmo had not a combined. We had one group meeting and then just some email traffic, but we are planning a meeting. It's not just Lenmo, it's a Lenmo board and some attorneys next week with the Anthony Enterprises. The discussion is mutual on drainage throughout the plantation. That's about all.
All right, sir. Thank you. Any questions for John? Okay, we'll have a report from Mr. Dan Kreis on long-range planning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met earlier this month at our normal regularly scheduled time. We reviewed some of the recommendations that the committee had made in the annual report, just to see what the status of those were. We also reviewed the new amenity process, and I commend you, Mr. Chairman or Mr. President, on your article in the columns. You discussed that. We reviewed that in some detail, and what emerged out of that discussion was the need for some sort of a tracking system that the committee will undertake to track the status and the progress of those submissions for new amenities. Was one of our efforts for this year. So that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kreis. Any questions for Mr. Kreis? Those are the committees that report to the Board of Directors, and I'll turn it over now to Mr. Bartholomew.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's start out with infrastructure. Sam Watts.
Thank you, Michael. Infrastructure met last month, and we had a very busy meeting. We discussed recent rains and flooding due to the historic floods the last 2 years. I believe the last 2 years will, when it's all said and done, will probably beat the 1888 Brazos River flood. You know, if we hadn't had Lake Whitney and Possum Kingdom, it probably would have set some records. It would have been worse, but we had some flooding in Pecan. A lot of our problems stem from water from the orchard, from the developer's property onto lots. The sand, we live right on the sugar sand, and it moves, and some of the waterways that were historical or now have moved now. They've filled in and diverted to other things, and we're going to be working with the developer Anthony's to see if we can alleviate some of these problems, but it's going to take some cooperation from the Anthony's because it's back in their properties. We had visitors from Woodlawn and Ravenswood discussing problems. Woodlawn, along with South Longwood, are two areas in Pecan where homes were built basically on level ground, and the water rises. It doesn't necessarily come onto them from any one place. It just rises and overburdens the drainage system there. I've looked at some of the things on Woodlawn, and it's going to have to be a community effort in those areas because there are places where we can alleviate the water situation, but there are really no true drainage easements through some of that. So, but I think there are some things we can do on the Woodlawn. Now, as far as the South Longwood in that area, that's still going to have to be investigated. We'll try to get some elevation profiles and see. That's pretty flat land, and it's eyeballing it. You really can't see where the water can go to, so we'll do some studies on that. We've started the Bontura project. If you have to go down Bontura, don't. You can't. It's blocked off and maybe blocked off for another day. I don't know. I had some trouble with moving a mud water line that was not as deep as everything had indicated, so we have a little delay there. Bell Chase Briarfield projects have begun again. We had some problems with the contractor. The contractor had problems, and I think he's going to file for bankruptcy. Is that true, Daniel? It was unfortunate. He has done a lot of jobs in here and done very good jobs, but he got caught by the weather, and it's unfortunate, but things like that happen. We will be reviewing our drainage plans, and most of the projects that we started back in 2011, 2012 will be completed this year. I think all on that list, wasn't it, about 12 projects. And so with the recent rains, and I suspect that I'm hearing rumors that they're going to revise the 100-year flood criteria. I don't know how long that takes, because I don't know how long it took to get the first 100-year rain criteria. So, but I'm understanding that with development and everything statewide, they're looking at the 100-year criteria again. So we'll see what comes out of that. But we will be looking at revising our drainage plans and looking. In the past, most of our drainage plans have been to protect our assets, and I think there are a couple more places where we need to look at protecting assets, but then we can move to alleviating some of drainage problems if possible. And that's all I have.
Yes, Dennis.
I just had a quick question. Once the sand washes out of the orchard into the ditch, and it's in the ditches itself, is that a PPOA issue, or is it Anthony? I mean, it's their sand, we'll wash it into the wet. I get two sides of the story. Just to get it dredged, the ditch.
If it's on you, it's yours.
It's across the street from me. And the orchard's across the street.
Is it on private property?
The ditch? I have no idea, because there's no houses over there. It's Anthony's orchard. It's washing out of the orchard into the ditch. And there is a drainage culvert like 2 houses down where the water should flow to. But now that it's full of sand, it's not flowing. So when we had these last recent rains, it comes over the road and washes down towards the river. Can you use the mic? I'm sorry?
Tell him it's on Ravenswood.
It's on Ravenswood, and there's an orchard across the street from me, so it's Anthony's property. There's water that's coming out of the orchard, or the sand actually, and now it's filling the ditch. My question is, whose responsibility would it be to have the ditch at least dredged so that when the water continues to come out, or the sand, it'll start to flowing down towards the culvert where it's expected to go down to the river?
Can you answer that, Daniel?
I'd have to go look at it.
8408 Ravenswood. Because there is an actual drainage culvert in that, like 2 houses down, but because you'll see there's an unnatural drainage issue where it's coming out of the orchard and it's filling up the ditch. So my concern is just basically to get the sand out of the ditch so that when we have future rains, it'll start to drain like it should.
I'll look at it.
Thanks, Danny.
Michael, I have a question. Sam, your favorite project, the 17th hole. When are they going to complete the cart path and put the, kind of the enclosure so it goes right along the pond there, the edging there?
I don't know. I think Underwood was going to do that, so it's back to the golf. Yeah.
Well, it really is kind of dangerous. I mean, if you're a golfer, you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
And it would behoove us to get that taken care of pretty quickly before there's something that happens.
Yeah, the MGA has agreed to fund that project. Is that correct, Mr. Brown?
the MGA had agreed to fund the rebuilding of the wall that's actually on the bridge. I'm not certain that they agreed to fund anything past that wall. We can obviously ask them. And I think there may be some confusion about who's going to take care of the curbing, because I hadn't heard that that had fallen to Underwood. So I think we need to have Daniel and Michael sit down and make sure that this gets done. I absolutely agree that it was a dangerous situation from day one, and we're just pushing the envelope here, and eventually we're going to have somebody into the pond. So
we'll make sure that gets done either between Mr. Underwood and Daniel. Any other questions for infrastructure? Let's go on to safety and security. Ty Harper.
Safety and security met on June 8th. We had two disputes that we had to deal with. Both of them were for speeding, and both of them were upheld. We had some topics that we discussed concerning the speed limits in Pecan, and there's been some studies on exactly how much speeding is going on and where the problem areas are, and some solutions. I think everybody's noticed on the marquee suggestions of watching the road and looking out for deer. That's one of the things that we discussed. In the month of May, we had a lot of things going on. It was kind of a late spring, and we had lots of animals coming out. We had lots of deer reports. The farms started coming out. We had crashes, several vehicle crashes involving reports that deer ran out in front of them. We had one mail truck hit a member, and then we had a mailbox hit as well. We had animals like a live bat in somebody's house. We had just, as the spring comes out, we have a lot of animals come out, a lot of snake reports as well. One of the biggest things that we had to deal with that month is, of course, the rain. And if you all remember, on the 31st, we actually had to shut down Ravenswood out in the campgrounds, and then eventually had to shut down the front gate for the first time that I've ever been here. Everybody worked really well and cooperating and trying to get around the water, so I appreciate everybody's cooperation with that. We had 43 citations. 31 of them were first-time speeders, a few for trash, and 5 people, it was their second speeding ticket. Most of our tickets were on Plantation, where we have most of our speeding reports, and then a variety of other streets. 33 of those citations were to members, so most of the speeding is members, and most of the speeding is their first time, so hopefully we're getting people to slow down. And that's all my report.
Questions, comments for safety and security?
Just a comment. I think the advertisement on both the front and rear signs of the speed limit has been very positive.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Ron. Liddell.
Any other questions for Ty? We're going to move back, and Mr. Kite's going to give a brief synopsis of the airport committee meeting yesterday.
Thanks, Michael. The airport committee met yesterday morning and listened to a proposal from the EAA. And for those of you who are unaware of what those initials mean, it's the Experimental Aircraft Association. There's a chapter of the EAA based here at Pecan, and they proposed combining forces with Pecan to build a joint-use building at the north end of the airport where Plainview Park currently is. So the airport committee will be evaluating that proposal and coming forward with what they think should be recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Kite. Any comments or questions for airport committee? Let's move on to Keith Castellan. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One quick question. About how many members are there in the local chapter? Of those members, how many of them are Pecan Plantation members?
That's interesting numbers. You're just getting me to talk off the top of my head. The last time I looked at it, there was probably 110 total members, and roughly 25 to 30 of them lived outside of Pecan, so the vast majority of them live within Pecan.
Pecan Plantation residents?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kite. Keith, go ahead.
Thank you, Michael. I'm sitting in for Brenda Palmer, who could not be here this morning. She wanted me to remind everybody that we have the fishing tournament on number 10 Golf Course Pond coming up this Monday. And then we have the 4th of July parade, our annual parade. Anybody that is wishing to be in the parade, they need to be at the Nutcracker parking lot at 5:30 p.m. for judging. And as a reminder, all first-year board members, as tradition holds, does the judging. So if you cannot make it, she said to please contact her where they can find a replacement or something. But she's looking forward to having everybody out there for the judging. After the flooding, the Archery Association worked really hard getting the archery range put back together and cleaned up in time for the kids' camps. Most of that's good. We still got some work to do on the building there. We're waiting some locks, the installation of the electronic locks, so they can secure their inventory, which is currently housed at members' homes. The shooting range cover, there was a manufacturer delay, and right now it's rescheduled to be installed at the archery range sometime in the middle of July. The campground is currently still closed, and Daniel and his crew is working really hard to get it open for our target date of the weekend of July, the 4th of July weekend. So right now it still looks like we're going to hit that date. But the bathroom down there took a big hit, and we're having to replace all the doors inside the bathroom. How many doors were there? 8? 10 doors we have to, and the frames, correct? Yeah, doors, frames, trim, so we got some work to do down there. But power has been restored. The 911 phone is working, and so that's the update on that. And then I'll move on to Entertainment Committee. She wanted to let everybody know that the Entertainment Committee is going to assist Sports and Rec with the 4th of July parade, and then they'll be taking the rest of the summer off, and they'll be back in September. Oh, wait, I got a pickleball.
Good deal. Pickleball everywhere.
I didn't want her to feel left out on that one. That's still actively going, and we have revised sometimes there to give a lot more play time in there. We're basically breaking the gym down in half, and so we're leaving half open to the membership and half for pickleball for the remaining of the summer. And so far, they seem pleased with that.
Excuse me, Michael.
Go ahead, Don.
Where are we supposed to show up for this judging of the...
It's a Nutcracker parking lot.
Okay.
At 5:30.
Okay, thanks.
Wear shorts.
Wear shorts, right. Gotcha.
It's going to be hot.
A question for Keith. How did the archery building fare during the flooding?
About as good as could be, considering it got over 5 feet deep inside the building. Thank God we didn't put sheetrock in there.
That's what I was...
I know.
Good call, Dan.
It was a good call. There's no sheetrock in there, and they got it out, and the building dried up, and we got the electricity on. Daniel and I were down there testing it, and it worked. And even so far the air conditioners, and they were underwater, and we got them to start too. So we're hoping that they'll hold out at least through the summer with the AC units. So
another comment. I understand that there will be a presentation at the board meeting for the Fitness Center Committee, by the Fitness Center Committee.
I believe the presentation is going to be at their workshop, their Monday workshop.
Oh, okay. Okay.
At the workshop, and it's to go over the marketing plan. We've been working digitally, putting together a flyer to go out as a mass mailer and infomercial, and they're also doing the website. They have a website that they're working on. That's what we met on last night, so.
Go ahead, Mr. Ward.
One other question, Keith, on the camping area. There's a storage unit that was built by the RV club immediately behind the restrooms in that area. What's the assessment of damage or repair time, whatever? Do we have that?
Daniel, you know anything on that?
There was no real damage to the storage.
Just needs to dry out, I think.
Mostly water damage then? Is there still some water accumulating there?
Not in the room itself.
Ponding behind the building.
Okay.
And the springs, everybody knows that there's springs that constantly run there. We have a lot of leakage that's even running behind the building, and it's staying several inches deep constantly back there right now.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Keith? Go ahead, Dennis.
I just want to give an FOPP permission to add an additional bag dispenser at the entrance to PAC, and hopefully it'll encourage the people who walk the path to grab a bag and clean up after their dog. So that'll go in July.
Great. Thank you very much.
Michael,
Yes,
could
go ahead.
Could I make a suggestion for Sports and Rec to consider? Because I know your calendar gets very full, and it's already full for the year, but one of the things that I've noticed that as our population has changed and there's more and more young people here, it seems like there's a lot of decorating for Halloween. And I know that we give awards for Christmas decorations, but I thought maybe the Sports and Rec could talk about that at one of their meetings to see if maybe we could have a Halloween decorating contest, at the home. So just a thought.
Good. I'll definitely bring that up and let them know.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Mr.
Just a comment on the archery building. Back when we were constructing that and we did a first look, it was rejected thanks to our treasurer and then architectural design member of the board, and he made a couple of slight changes to improve that building, and the fact that those changes were made saved us a lot of damage when the waters did come up, and I just want to pat Dan on the back for that.
I wasn't fishing for that with my other
Thank you, Keith. Anything else? Let's move on to Joe Harbin in the marina.
It's been a very good summer so far at the marina. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Brett Boddert for his work as the manager out there. He's really helped us get it going. We're going to miss him greatly. I've been told that we have a new person coming in July. I haven't confirmed that yet. The roadside weed eating and planting of the oleanders that one of our members on the committee has purchased is going to be Friday morning, bright and early, about 7 o'clock, so we can get some stuff done before it gets hot. If anybody wants to work hard, come out and join us. The dock proposal is still at a standstill. We're waiting for another bid. One of the thoughts that we're having, and I'm kind of the blame for it, we're doing a cost analysis over whether it would be smarter now, since we're not going to make this summer's rush as far as getting the dock replaced. It's just not going to happen. Is to maybe do a complete replacement of the dock rather than try an add-on. We want to do a cost analysis before we even bring that forward, but I'm just planting the seed. Another topic of interest to the committee was the storage building next to the store. The roof on there has a lot of rust showing, and one of the things that we want to look at, and Daniel's helping us with that, is looking to see if it would be more cost effective to replace the roof, or to completely tear down the building and replace it with one that is secure, built to last, because now the security between the individual storage units is pretty minimal. It's a fence. It's just in the thinking stage, so those of you with the pocketbooks, don't panic yet. Our next committee meeting, we're going to talk about a little bit of responsibilities between the staff on their roles and duties and that of what the committee is supposed to do. So with that, again, I'd like to thank Brett one more time and have a good summer.
Yeah, Brett did a great job for us. He will be missed. And thank you, Mr. Hartman.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Maybe make another suggestion. I'm full of suggestions today. We went last night to Stumpy's for, $2 taco night, and there were so many people there. It was amazing, even in the heat. I know this is more a food and beverage topic, but I know you're really involved with what's going on there at the restaurant. Have y'all ever talked about having a special night like that?
Yes, to be honest, John and I have talked about it, and what we're thinking about doing, I have asked repeatedly in the columns to get an idea of how many of the community would support it. We're going to, as the summer progresses, we're going to try a little longer hours. And special nights would be something. We don't want to interfere with club business, but we do want to improve the marina business.
You don't want to interfere with whose business?
Club, here.
So all goes the same bottom line.
How about Monday night?
Yeah, Monday night's what we're looking at, yes.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, having a special on Monday night. We're all in favor of it. We wanted to do it.
Anything else for the marina? Yes, Dennis.
Joe, the only thing I would suggest is when you start putting ideas together, since we have formulated a food and beverage committee on which I serve and Catherine Robinson serve, I'd suggest we all put our heads together and uniformly address the taco night or whatever, because those are the type of ideas that we're coming up with at this point.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Good point. Anything else for Mr. Hartman? Let's talk golf with Mike Brown.
Morning again. The only thing I have for you this morning, since I've already taken up a bunch of your time, the golf committee has put together a new trifold handout to be included in the member orientation packages. The trifold includes information on accessing 4Ts and all the rules and regulations that govern the use of the course by the members. It will be included with a handout from the MGA and the LGA explaining their groups and how to join those two groups. So the member orientation packages will see these real soon. That's it.
Okay, go ahead, John. Comment. Again, I guess I'm full of compliments this morning, but we recently revised the 4Ts system for smartphones, and it is really good now. I had quit using it and would always go to the desktop version on my smartphone, but the new smartphone version of 4Ts, you can do everything on it now, and it works well. And just want to pass on a thanks for whoever was all involved in working that.
It was pretty much a Bobby White deal. He did a favor for the 4Ts people, and they gave this program to us, or the ability to use this app, free of charge to us. I think it involved because we got another local golf course to sign up and start using 4Ts. So it's available. It's an expandable program. It's not just for the golf. There are other things we could use it for here, and I think David and Bobby have talked about that, and they'll be moving forward with that. It's a pretty good system.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments or questions for golf? Let's talk communications. Wynette Burns.
Thank you. Our committee met 2 times this last month, and the first thing we decided to do was a survey. Can you hear me? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. The first thing we decided to do was a survey to see how people were using our current communications and how in favor they were of new techniques for communicating. Just lost my notes. Is that better? Hello? Hello?
There you go.
Okay. I think it was the way I was holding it. David Jeffers designed the survey that went out by email. We got 400, how many were those sent? How many sent?
We sent it out to the entire email database that we have in Cleviston, towards just over 3,500 email addresses.
All right, we got 449 responses, which is, I guess, about average for that kind of survey. We, under the auspices of current communications, we got responses that said that our website was useful, 88%, to one degree or another. TV, only 34% thought the TV channel was useful. The signs said 87% said those were useful, so we have David to thank for that, because he initiated and got us through the process of buying those signs and getting those set up, and I think people have relied more and more on those signs. Columns got a 90% useful rating, and I think we have Daryl to thank for that. He does a wonderful job of putting the columns together. Overall, people said they were satisfied with our current communications. 95% of the people were satisfied to one degree or another. It went from somewhat to very satisfied. As a result of that, we will be looking at new techniques for communication. Our interest was getting the ability to do more timely communications through digital media. When we asked the question how many people would be interested in getting notifications by Facebook, 54% said they were unlikely to do that. The rest were somewhat interested. Text messages, 40% said they were unlikely to use it. So that means 60% were likely to enjoy getting text messages regarding current issues. Other means like Nextdoor Pecan and other media, other means, 54% said they were unlikely to use it. So we have a starting point, I think, to look at these means of communication. I think with our population getting younger, I think those numbers will increase, and I think if we do set up a Facebook page or develop the ability to text message people, I think that interest will grow over time if we make it interesting and timely enough. So those would be our objectives. Aaron is working currently on setting up a Facebook page. His time has been limited, so it hasn't really advanced very quickly. But as you can see, the interest is minimal right now, so I think these projects will be ones that will evolve over time. I don't think we're going to be able to make this a working method for a while. I think it's going to be a long-range project, but we are anxious to contribute to that effort. We still are talking about making the web page more functional. We're talking about replacing and updating the video for membership orientation. And that will be a project that will deal with all of our management, and so that is kind of a long-range project too. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I have one comment on the Facebook. Women's Club instituted a Facebook page 2 years ago, and we had to take a couple of meetings and just explain it and how you do it. And now people who would never normally go to Facebook are on it, and it's pretty successful.
That's good to know.
That's
Go ahead,
interesting.
Jen.
I think that's one of those things that word of mouth, you know, I got my information from Facebook, and people then will start tuning into that.
You have a question, Lynette? Is this on? Can you had indicated that the survey, the results had shown that the electronic signs were an effective means of communication. Has there been any discussion, maybe this is addressed to Keith as well, for putting an electronic sign at the PAC? I've heard people claim that that would be useful because, you know, the more dynamic kind of changing rather than the labor-intensive manual marquee, you know, which is not, you know, doesn't move very quickly. You got to have somebody put a. Has there been any discussion about that, David?
Can I address that?
Yeah.
There has been discussion about putting an electronic sign at the PAC, but we have had issues in the past with residences that live close to there complaining about the brightness of the existing sign, the lights on the existing sign. So I think if we did go with an electronic sign, we would really amplify that issue of the brightness of the signs. And my personal feeling is I don't think it would be very popular in that location because it is too close to residences.
Current residences?
Yeah, current residences down, but, and the other thing that David failed to mention, all our other signs are shown one way. This would have to be a two-way sign, so you're talking almost double the cost. So it's still up in the air. In fact, I talked with somebody about this yesterday. It might be something that we really would want to push if, say, if the fitness center goes through and it becomes that much more popular and that much more developed, then we'd have that much more activities. You know, I'd love to have one, but we've talked, and it's hard to justify $25,000 to put an electronic sign up there right now.
Which would, if it was double, that'd be 50.
Yeah, or something.
The size of that sign would be, that would be roughly the same size as what we have at
The front gate.
which is closer to the $30,000-$35,000 range.
And we might be looking at 40 grand or something like that. So maybe if the popularity of the fitness center, but, you know, I'm all for it. My people change it. We've had a lot of problems with it changing, and love to have it, but I don't know the viability of it in the immediate future.
Go ahead, Dennis.
David, I just had a question regarding the database for email. I guess after new members orientation, when we get the email addresses and the phone numbers, they somehow get to you, and is that how you put it into the database from the new members? Number one. And number two is, when somebody leaves Pecan, how do they get deleted? I mean, how do we keep it updated? That's my question. And and basically this falls into some of the questions that have come up through communication and from the Food and Beverage Committee. We were just curious.
That question is very similar to an onion. There's many, many, many layers to it. We have a big database that we use for just about everything out here. It's Jonas, and I'm sure you've heard that name before. All of our membership records go into Jonas. Our website, our web host, is one of the few, if not the only, web host that does integrate with Jonas. So when we have new members come in, it actually syncs data, and it's a semi-manual process. It actually syncs data to the website so that our website is constantly current on members. In fact, I just completed it this morning. So all the new members come on,
and in that sync process, all the terminated or non-members go off. So that stays constantly up to date. So it would probably never be more than 2 days out of date.
Good, okay.
And then what was the second part of that? It's part of the same process. They come out.
It's continually updated for, we don't have it, you know.
Continually updated.
People that have sold their home 5 years ago still in the system.
No. If it is, it's one that's fallen through the cracks, and that's quite rare.
And just one other comment. I mean, I found my communication survey in my spam email for some reason. And I don't know if that happened to a lot of other people, but I just was going to mention it.
That is an unfortunate side effect of doing any mass email. Any mass email can be considered spam. They use specific algorithms that they apply to an email, and if it meets certain criteria, it's considered spam. Most of our email blasts are considered spam by some internet service providers. There are some internet service providers that are used out here, like AOL and Earthlink, that will not forward any of our email traffic, our mass email traffic, period. And we struggle with that for years. I have literally talked to AOL and Earthlink and have never been successful in getting them to pass our traffic. We've also had issues back when we were using our web host to send out mass emails that Charter, which is probably our largest internet provider out here, blacklisted Club Essential as a spam site. And so all of our Charter subscribers were not getting any email communications that we were sending out. So we made a change. We went over to a different service called iContact. That helps us eliminate the possibility of our emails, our mass emails, being considered spam. It doesn't completely, but it helps to lower the possibility. But that's always a possibility.
I've got a follow-up question. Can you put multiple email addresses into your account page? Right now, you know, when we join, my wife put her email address, so all the communication goes to her. Now, she's pretty good about forwarding it to me, but I would like to get the same information also.
Yes, you can have as many email addresses as you want attached to your member account. There's really no limit there. And we have many, many, many households that have separate email addresses for husband, wife, and children in the household. So,
thanks.
How would one go about adding an email address, David?
There's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can edit your profile on the website, and I will get a notification, and I will change it in the database. And it's also, I have more than just my eyes on it. John gets these emails. They also go to our membership department so that we can guarantee that information gets put into the database. You can send me an email. I'm happy to do it for you. Or call me or the membership department. We're also all happy to add email addresses to the system.
Yeah, it's relatively easy to do that. You can also put pictures of you and your wife on there. So
yes. About the only thing that you can't do is change your display name on the website. We have a lot of members that'll change their display name to a nickname or something like that, and that's based on the actual name that is on your deed to your property. So you can change it, but it will eventually revert back to what we have in our database.
If a member decides to opt out, I've heard that he or she cannot get back in. Is that true?
That is true, and it's not a simple process either. It's you know, I went through the process myself just to see how easy it might be to inadvertently click on Do Not Contact. But the service that we use, they want to protect your privacy, just like you know, we would here. So if you opt out of that service, and let's say your email address is dennis@charter.net. They will never allow me to put that email address back into that system. And the only way it can get back into the system is the same process, reverse of the same process. You have to resubscribe from an old email, mass email that we were sent out. If you haven't kept one, then there is no possibility of getting that email address back into the system.
Wow.
So what we've done with a lot of the members that have done that and then had a change of heart, we've asked them to set up a secondary email address like a Gmail, Yahoo, or Hotmail.
Oh, okay.
And we've been able to integrate them back into the system.
So that's the avenue, basically.
That's the only way, because once you've clicked on Do Not Contact, I have no control of adding that back into the system.
Any other questions? Sharon Boone had to take care of some business this morning, so she's not with us, but the House and Food and Beverage Committee has met twice and broke down into two subcommittees, one of which is the House Committee. Their main focus right now is the 19th hole, looking at retheming and renovation of the 19th hole. And the Food and Beverage Subcommittee is looking at operational ideas to increase participation and with advertising and special events. And Dennis is the chair of that, and he may want to talk a little bit more about that. One of the first things we're going to do is starting a new 19th hole turn menu, make it easier for when you're playing golf to order some items, a couple holes from the 19th hole, and the items will be ready for you when you make the turn playing golf. So the committee is finalizing their plans. We'll meet again for a vote and go forward position at their July meeting. Any comments or questions? Dennis, you want anything to that with food and beverage?
It's a very active committee, and we do meet on a monthly basis, and then my committee, our committee meets in addition to that. Basically what Michael has said, we're concentrating on food and beverage items and issues at this point, but the reason I was so interested in the communications aspect of it is we're trying to develop a survey which we're looking at producing towards the fall to get a lot more input from members here, and we want to make sure that it gets out to as many members as possible. And when we hear these stories about, well, it's sitting in spam or whatever, we just want to make sure we get the biggest bang for our buck when we decide to do this survey, because we've got a lot of good questions and we want to get some great input from members. So we'll probably be talking to you in the future when we put that together.
Dennis, would you like to roll right into membership? If we are, any questions for food and beverage before we move on? Comments, questions of food and beverage? Okay, Dennis, go ahead.
This report is for the month of May and our first meeting in June. The May billing, we had 2,991 billings that went out. We're still skirting with the $3,000 number. But for the three meetings that we've done, we've had 32 attendees, the majority of which, 26, are purchases and transfers, and 6 were rentals. So we get a lot of activity. It's surprising, and as I've said before, we see more and more younger members attending these meetings, so our population is changing out here.
Thank you very much. Anybody have anything?
Yeah, just a comment. We had discussed, I believe it was in a board workshop or a meeting, about doing some little thing to recognize the 3,000.
I believe Bob mentioned that at the last meeting.
The 3,000th member, yeah. And are we still thinking in that direction? I don't know, free beer, free meal, free whatever, some little thing just to make a point of it.
Well, I'll make sure that people know when we hit 3,000, but we're still skirting with that at this point.
It's a good idea. We'll come up with something.
Okay,
great idea. Does anybody else have any comments about any of our committees? If not, Mr. President, I believe that concludes our committee reports for this month.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Since we're handing out some compliments today, I'm kind of repeating myself. You'll see my article shortly. But during our flooding at the end of May, I think our general manager and the staff people that we have did a great job of handling a very unusual situation. They were up to date on notification to the membership, the direct reports for Michael, were on point, looking at things that they needed to take care of as a result of the floods. So I would like to just recognize them again for the great job that they performed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Appreciate that. Thank you to the staff, too.
Okay. Any other discussion or any other
Mr.
business?
President, I have one question here.
All right, sir.
Are we taking minutes of this particular meeting?
Yes.
All right, yeah. And who's,
Mary's taking
there we
them,
go.
yeah.
Okay. Who's maintaining them? Are they being reviewed, approved, or anything like that, or are they informal?
They're posted on the website.
Okay, thanks. That's what I needed. I didn't know that. Thank you.
And prior to that, I get a copy, and I think John probably gets a copy to review before we put it out.
Good, thank you. I wasn't aware that they were being kept, so that's good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Any other questions, comments? Meeting's adjourned.